ओम गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. Okay, let us say something on Moola Vidya Nirasa. Please ignore all these things behind, since there is no other place. The other place is very hot, so I am just shifted to this place because it is slightly better. Otherwise it is unbearable sweating and then I can't speak. So I don't know how to cover up these things behind. Tomorrow or so I will think of covering up. Now let them be. They unnecessarily draw your attention, might disturb you. Have little patience for today. Tomorrow I'll think of covering up all those books so that you won't see anything and directly able to hear. Okay. In Moola Vidya Nirasa, we proceed to the next passage. A passage means it is not a small passage, it goes on for 1 or 2 pages. It is a big passage, 1.5 pages. It may consist of many paragraphs. Consisting of many paragraphs, one big passage of 1.5 pages. Next topic is Vakya Yuktyadanubhavayor Vishesha. Vakyad. Yukti and Anubhava. Yukti is reasoning and Anubhava is intuition. Reasoning and Anubhava has something special compared to Shruti Vakya, because they have got some special status. Visheshaha means some special status. This is the topic. So in compared to the bare text, reasoning and intuition. Intuition means appealing to intuition. These two have something a special status compared to just a bare text. Now I shall read it. Akshepaka, the objector, says this. Objection. Yadyapi chirantanabhiyukta abhyupagata pramananyange krutya katham pravartayatoho nakopi pratibandaka. Why are you bringing this? Purvapakshi is objecting. Why are you bringing this topic? When to introduce the authoritative text during the discussion? And then you, in the previous discussion, instead of authoritative text, you suggested us to bring logic and then Anubhava and all that. Keeping this in view, Purvapakshi raises an objection. Chirantana abhiyuktaha, our ancestral experts, scholars. Abhiyukta is experts of Vedanta. Our ancient Vedantins, Chirantana means who have been coming down the traditional Vedanta, let us say. Our traditional Vedantins, Abhyupagata Pramananyange Krutya. Our traditional Vedantins have accepted Pramana, mainly Shruti Pramana and other Pramanas. Pramanani Ange Krutya, Katham Pravartayatoho, Nakopi Pratibandaka. If we carry out the discussion with the help of the Pramana, what is the Pramana? Pratyaksha, Anumana, Shruti. So these Pramanas have been used by our ancestral traditional Vedantins. So if we follow their path, just what they did it, we also follow the path, so there is no problem. Why you raise this topic, when to bring the an authoritative text, when to use logic, all these things, why do you bring? Purvapakshi asking, why do you make it a big issue and then a need to And then we have to decide. You said that we have to determine when to bring a authoritative text and when to use logic and all these things. Why do you make a big issue? Our traditional people have been following certain method. We will follow. Let us continue in that method with our traditional people have been using it. Why setting aside? Why do you doubt that earlier method, our traditional method, and want to decide about the method, validity of the method, and then want to add and something to it and something else? Why do you need to do that? Let us just to follow what our ancestors have been doing, traditional acharyas have been doing. Tathacha shabdasyapi abhiyukta grihita pramanyat vag vyavahare nirdishtaha eva praveshaha iti nishprayojana iva ukta vyavastha prakaraha. The method you have decided now that first we should refer to Anubhava, then Anubhava should be then according to Anubhava based logic. After deciding, then bring the quotation. Why all these things are necessary? Why a particular sequence of quoting these three? When to bring if there is one more point you said, for a Shruti quotation, for any authoritative text, the reply should be given with another stronger authoritative text. For reasoning, another stronger reasoning has to be used to give reply to a debater. And then if he refers to one Anubhava, you have to bring a stronger Anubhava. This method I have never seen, never heard in traditional people. You are bringing it unnecessary. Why are you bringing? We just follow, our traditional people have been following, and we also follow the same. We are not interested in listening to the new method which you are introducing, and you are defending it very, very, very vehemently. You are defending it. Therefore, we don't need that. Who says this? Purapakshi says. Tathacha shabdasyapi, even shabda pramana also. Regarding shabda pramana also, when to quote the text, or when somebody quotes a text, should we reply with another text or should we reply with logic and others? Even regarding this also, whatever our traditional people followed, we just follow. Tatacha shabdasyapi, regarding shabda pramana to abhiyukta grihita pramanyat. Shabdasyapi abhiyukta grihita pramanyat. Even regarding Shabda Pramana also, as our ancestors have taken, we also take in the same thing. They would quote random any quotation, and we also, let us also quote. For anything they would take the Shruti Pramana and reply. For anything they would take one Shastra Pramana and reply. Similarly, why not we say, why do you want to make a rule about how to quote and when to quote even regarding that? Why do you want to have another method of your own, leaving out the traditional method? Nirdushtaha eva pravesha. If we follow what our traditional people have been doing, that's all, no question, no answer, no dispute, nothing. Traditional people have been doing it and we do it, that's enough. Did they not do? Did they not live for centuries together? Did they not do Vedanta Vichara? We also will do same thing. Nirdushta eva praveshaha. Therefore, discussion will be faultless. Without any blemish, without any defect, we go on. Iti nishprayojana. Therefore, the method you are advocating, a new method, is all waste. Who says? Purapakshi. Why are you evolving a new method? Ultra modern, just you want to show up that you know something more and you want to impose and you want all others to follow you. So you are interested in your personal glory, personal fame and name. You want to become popular. Therefore, you write a new book and then you present a new method in it and defend that your method alone is foolproof and all that. What is all this? So your method is foolproof. This is how you are talking, but we feel that what was useful to our traditional acharyas, the method of discussion our traditional acharyas have followed, it has been useful to them, and it has come down to us, it will be useful to us also. Therefore, we don't feel the need of a new method which you are introducing. Who says? Purvapakshi. This again, as a reply to it, this again is a Purvapakshi's emotional argument. He is not listening to what Swamiji told, what Siddhanti told. This again is an emotional way. Most of the people while discussing only become emotional rather than fact-based reasoning, rather than accepting reasoning based upon facts. They become emotional. Anyway, tathapi, reply to this argument of Purvapakshi, Swamiji replies, tathapi abhiyuktayeva vipravadante shabda pramana vishaye ityetannam pasvartavyam. Your Siddhanti Swamiji replies, sir, you are forgetting one important thing. We shall quote the Shastra Vakya and answer is given. Why are you unnecessarily setting aside the traditional method? Swamiji says, the very traditional method is an inconclusive, it doesn't help. It doesn't decide the truth because it is a double-tongued. Tatha abhiyuktayeva vipravadante. The very experts, the very acharyas. Abhiyuktaha acharyas. The very acharyas, traditional acharyas. Acharyas of various schools. Okay? The very acharyas of various schools disagree. Vipravadante. They disagree with one another. Shabda Pramana Vishaye. Regarding the very validity of Shabda Pramana, they differ. When they differ regarding the very Shabda Pramana, how can we take for granted that whatever Shastra says is the final truth? Nobody can refute it, nobody can dispute it, nobody can question it, because Shastra is a Pramana. But regarding the very validity of Shastra, there is a dispute. That means what Shastra says, should we accept it as it is? Or should we verify and then accept it? Should we accept as the Shastra says? Or should we verify and after verification alone we should accept? So regarding the Shastra Pramana, there are different views. See, if pravadante Shabda Pramana Vishaye ittetat na prasmartavya na vismartavya. Please don't forget this fact. Shabda Pramanya Vishayehi na kevalam navyaha kintu prachinapi acharyaha vipravadhyante asma bahulam. Regarding the Shabda Pramana, na kevalam navyaha, not only the moderns, kintu prachinapi acharyaha vipravadhyante asma bahulam. They disagree in various ways. Not only the moderners disagree, even the ancient acharyas also disagree. Navyaha na kevalam navyaha kintu prachinaha api acharyaha. Very, very ancient Purvamimamsakas like Kumarla Bhatta, Gautama and Jaimini, even those acharyas. Ancient acharyas also differ regarding the pramana. आस्तिकदर्शनयो दर्शनकारैर्यत् सत्यमेव तत् प्रामाण्यमङ्गीकृतमिति. But he says, Astika Darshanas. He says, Astika Darshanas, it is true that all the philosophers of Vedic schools have accepted Shruti as a valid means of knowledge. Astika Darshanas means all the schools which are based upon the Upanishad or the Veda, they all agree unanimously, no dispute at all, no disagreement. They unanimously agree Shruti as a pramana. So, your praman darsanakaraihi yat satyameva tat pramanyam angikrutam. In spite of these disagreements, in spite of their meanings, in spite of their interpretations, different implication of the Upanishadic statements, one thing is common, that they all agree Upanishad as pramana. Then why do you bring your rule? Tathapi. To this Swamiji replies, yet Shabdasya nityatva nityatve paurusheyatva paurusheyatve प्रत्यक्षानुमानयोः शब्देन विरोधे सति शब्दप्राबल्य दौर्बल्ये च इत्येवमादि विशेषस्थलेषु परस्परविरुद्धाः प्रतिपत्तिरस्त्येव आस्तिकानामपि. This point I have already told you. Siddhanta is replying, Swamiji is replying. Shabdasya nityatve anityatve. Regarding the eternity or non-eternity of the Veda. Is Veda eternal or non-eternal? Regarding this, there are differences of opinion. Paraspara viruddhatva pratipatti. Mutually, contradictorily, they are accepting this point. If one Acharya accepts one thing, the other Acharya accepts exactly opposite. Veda, say for example, take it. Veda as it is eternal. It is eternal. Who says? Puramimamsakas, Kumarla Bhatta, Jaimini and others say, Jaimini, Shabaraswami and Kumarla Bhatta. They say Veda is eternal. It is not created by anybody, including God. Even God doesn't create. It cannot be created, need not be created, not possible to create. Veda exists as it is eternal. That's all. Veda was neither born nor it dies. It is there all the time. So, Veda is eternal. This is what, who say this? Puramimamsaka. Whereas Naiyayikas, Gautama, Vatsayana, and Tarkashastra, Nyaya Shastra or Tarkashastra followers, they hold that Shabda is not eternal. Words are not eternal. Therefore, sentences are not eternal. Therefore, Veda is not eternal. It was created. Okay, how can a created word be Shabda Pramana? Okay, they say it is not created by man, but it is created by Ishvara. Each Srishti, in the beginning of the creation, Bhagavan himself writes the Veda. Bhagavan himself writes the Veda. Bhagavan creates the Veda. Writes means creates composes the Veda, and it remains. Again, each time Bhagavan creates the new Veda. Therefore, Veda, the words, sentences are not eternal because they are created by Ishvara. Puramimamsakas say Veda is not created by anybody, including Ishvara. Even Ishvara doesn't create Veda. It exists all the time. So, thus, regarding the eternity, non-eternity of the Veda, there are differences of opinion, isn't it? A difference of opinion, they disagree with each other. That means, not only they slightly differ or deviate or partly disagree, it's a totally opposite stand. What is wrong for one school is right for other school. What is right for other school is totally wrong, completely wrong for other school. Somebody says Veda is eternal. The other fellow says, no, it is not at all eternal, it must be non-eternal. Now when you have totally opposite view, how are we to accept the Veda? Isn't it a problem? Paurushayatva paurushayatve. The next point. Not only regarding its eternity, non-eternity, regarding its authorlessness also. Is Veda authorless, or it is authored by somebody? Puramimamsakas say it is authorless. Nobody authored it. Naiyayikas say it is not man-made, but it is God-made. Human being has not written, but God has written it. Therefore, it is apaurushaya, though it is written by Ishvara. Paurushayatva paurushayatve, then pratyaksha anumanayoh shabdena virode sati. Is the next problem. First is eternity, non-eternity of the Veda. Second point is whether it is authored by some human being, or authored by somebody, or it is unauthored. Authored or unauthored. Is Veda made or self-existing? Paurushayatva means, is Veda made by somebody or not made by anybody? It is self-existing. Paurushaya means self-existing. Ayyarama. Paurushaya means made or not made by anybody, but just self-existing. Paurushaya, apaurushaya. Okay. Coming to then third point. When supposing what Veda says goes against our pratyaksha pramana or anumana pramana. If what Veda says contradicts other pramanas like pratyaksha and anumana, what should we do? Should we dismiss as invalid because it is contradicting with perception and inference? Or if we want to, however we want to accept Shruti as a pramana, but it goes against perception and inference, then what can we do? Should we doubt the very Shruti, or should we reject perception and inference and accept what Veda says? Should we accept what Veda says by rejecting perception and inference, or overriding? Rejecting means by overriding. Pratyakshanumanayoh shabdena virode sati shabda prabalya daurbalye cha. Is shabda pramana capable of overriding, or it cannot override? Does shabda pramana overrides the other pramanas? If it overrides, then shabda pramana is correct. Even if it is contradicting perception and inference, shabda pramana or shastra pramana is valid because it overrides the perception and inference. If it doesn't override, then Shruti pramana itself is wrong. Then we have to correct the Shruti pramana according to perception and inference. In keeping with perception and inference, Shruti has to be corrected. Shruti has to be reinterpreted. You can't take the literal meaning of it, then you have to change it. Now, between these two, which one should we accept? There are different views. See, tathapi pratyaksha anumanayoh shabdena virode sati shabda prabalya daurbalye. That means, is shabda more powerful that it can override perception and inference, or it is not so powerful, it cannot contradict perception and inference, yet remain valid. See, it cannot. Abba, where is my notebook? I have not brought any notebook. It cannot contradict perception and inference and yet remain valid. If it is contradicting, then we have to reject. If it contradicts perception and logic, if what Shruti says, what an authoritative text says is against our logic, against our perception, then what should we do? Should we change the meaning? No, that may not be its meaning, because how can Shruti go against perception? So we just dismiss it. So the Shruti statement or any Shastra statement is weak because it can't override perception and inference. It has to adjust. It can't override. So can it override? Can it override, or it has to adjust? This is the question. Can it override, or it can't afford to contradict and become valid? By contradicting, it loses validity, isn't it? Or is weak, can't override. Can't ignore, can't reject, and still remain valid. It can't contradict perception and inference and still remain valid. Impossible. That means it has to adjust. It has to adjust to perception and inference. So these are the 3 points. Shabda prabalya daurbalya. Is Shabda prabala or durbala? Prabala means strong enough to override it. Then durbala means it is not capable of rejecting perception and inference and talk. So whatever it says, it has to be in keeping with perception and inference. Ityevamadi visheshanastaleshu. These are the 3 points. These 3 and such other contexts, the problem arises. Paraspara viruddha pratipattirasteva astikanamapi. People have mutually contradictory views, even though all of them are believers of Shastra. All of them accept Shastra as a valid means of knowledge. Yet they have a different interpretation, totally to opposite interpretation regarding the Shastra. Then in this context, what are we to do? Ityadaveva shabdopanyase. In that case, when regarding the Shruti Vakya itself there is a dispute, how can you just take for granted that whoever quotes the Shastra, his is final, his words are final? You can't say that. Iti eda adaveva shabdopanyase. Therefore, in the beginning of the debate, if you just bring a quotation in the very beginning, the problem arises is like this. Adaveva shabdopanyase tadrisha vishesha vishaye vadinor visamvade sati. If you bring an authoritative text right in the beginning means without showing the reasoning, without showing anubhava. Without showing the reasoning, without showing anubhava, just to bring the authoritative text, then what happens? Astikana vadinor samvade sati. Then regarding its meaning, there will be a dispute. Vadinor visamvadaha. Visamvadaha means disagreement. There is visamvadaha. Disagreement. Vadasyaiva anarambhaha. Then the very discussion doesn't begin. The very debate will collapse in the in the beginning. You can't proceed. No discussion will ever continue, because the starting point itself is the difficulty. आदावेव शब्दोपन्यासे so वादस्यैव अनारम्भः दुष्परिहरणीयः. We can't avoid the situation of unable to start a discussion, inability to start the discussion. That means the very discussion cannot begin. Because of these three, if you bring an authoritative text, there are these three problems we have stated just now. What are they? Eternity, non-eternity, paurusheya, apaursheya, or whether it can override the perception and inference, or it can't override, therefore what it has to readjust to the perception and inference. Tasmad, to this reply he gives, Tasmad yukyanabhavau parishishyete nakenapi parikshakena nirastau shakya nirasau va. So regarding the authoritative text, these are the problems, these are the difficulties that we encounter. Therefore, we have to leave the quotation, go to the reasoning and experience and experience-based reasoning. Okay? Therefore, parikshakena, therefore what is left out is the reasoning and anubhava. These are the only things, safe, undisputed things. Regarding the Shruti Vakyam or Shastra Vakya, there being disputes regarding its meaning, you can't just directly quote them when it is differed, when it is disagreed by others. So nobody can refute this reasoning and anubhava. That means you can't have contradictions. You can't have disagreements in reasoning and anubhava. Regarding the quotation, you may have different views, different interpretations. Then people may differ. But in these things, no differing. Tasmat, therefore, yukti-anubhavo eva parishishyete. What is left out safe? What are safe, free from disagreement, is reasoning and anubhava. These two are left out. Left out means left out without disputed. They are left out without being disputed. If you take the authoritative text, a lot of disputes arise, disagreement arise. This is the one thing which is without disagreements. That means it is a smooth way. I give reasoning and you also give reasoning, you listen and you accept. We move on smoothly with the discussion. But if we question the very authoritative text, and if somebody quotes it, other fellow doesn't agree, so the very discussion doesn't begin. The very discussion doesn't begin. Therefore, parishishyete nakenapi parikshakena nirastau shakyena. No examiner, no philosopher can reject perception and inference, nor it is possible to reject them. Everybody has to accept, because that is the things we all use for arguing and discussing. Sarvatrapi hi bhuta vastu vishayaka vichare yukta eva sadhani kriyante sarvairapi yadite abhyapagachanti sarvanyapi pramanani yadivana abhyapagachanti. Okay, every person, every debater, whether he accepts all pramanas or not, regarding the pramana, the valid means of knowledge, perception, inference, upamana, arthapatti, presumption and abhava, and shabdi pramana, all these things. In all these pramanas, whether they accept other pramanas or not. Some people accept 2 pramanas, some people accept 3, some people accept 4, some people accept all the pramanas. So this is where there is a difference between person to person, school to school. Te abhyapagachanti sarvanyapi pramanani yadivana abhyapagachanti. Like Buddhists don't accept any pramanas at all, Shunyavadis, because all of them is Shunya for them. Naiyayikas accept 4 pramanas. Puramimamsakas accept 6 pramanas. Charvaka accepts only Pratyaksha. Naiyayikas accept 2 and 4. Like this, different schools accept the number of pramanas differently. Therefore, Swamiji says here, whether they accept all pramana or one of the pramana, 2 pramana, 3, or at least maybe 1, whatever they accept. One thing is clear. While discussing an existing fact, Bhutavastu Vishaya means an existing fact. We are not discussing a would-be situation. Like heaven is not an existing, it is going to be produced. It is a sadhyanubhava, sadhyaloka, it is not a siddhanubhava. It is not ever existing one, but it is going to exist, it is going to be produced. Bhutavastu Vishayaka Vichare. Regarding the self-existing, only yuktis have to be depended upon, have to be adopted. Shakya nirasavi sarvatra bhutavastu vishayaka vichare yuktayaha eva sadhani kriyante. Only reasoning is used regarding the self-existing fact. Sarvairapi yadite abhipagachanti sarvanyapi pramanani yadivanapi yatto tarkasya apratishtanat pratisiddha sopiti. Regarding logic, he has got something to argue. And he says, Tarka is apratishtanat. Apratisthana means the logic has no finality. You can go on stretching, you can go on arguing, that fellow argues, you also argue. So the very argument itself doesn't decide anything permanently. Because argument further desires the need of arguing. Arguing wants another argument alone. Reasoning wants only reasoning alone. So therefore, tarkasya apratishthana. It cannot decide a final thing. It cannot decide finally anything. Therefore, tarka is rejected by our acharyas. Purvapakshi says, you say Shruti Vakya is rejected because regarding the Shruti there are disputes. Therefore, we have to bring reasoning and experience alone. Purvapakshi says, or Ekadeshi says, even reasoning is disputed. You say Shruti should be set aside tentatively and present the reasoning. At the end you may do it, but in the beginning, first you have to convince the person through reasoning, not through statements, not through authoritative texts, because it has got some problems. Then Purvapakshi says, even the reasoning has a problems, even reasoning is not free from disagreement and dispute. Even reasoning is disputed. Do you think if somebody's arguments are accepted by all? If you argue, somebody also argues against you. Or if somebody cannot refute you, even then he won't accept you. Even if he cannot refute your argument seems to be right, yet he may not accept. Therefore, even the logic you have advocated has a problems. Just as there are problems regarding the Shruti Vakya, even the logic also has the same or more or less the same problems. Bhutavastu Vishayake Tarkasya Apratishtanat iti prasiddha. Therefore, Tarka being apratishta is not final, so even Tarka has to be rejected. You can't follow, you can't adopt logic directly. To this he says, Tannatan Manoharam. Siddhanti replies, no. Regarding the authoritative texts, if there is a disagreement, you have to go to logic. But regarding logic, you can't set aside the logic saying some or other pretext that logic also is indecisive. Logic is also not only indecisive, logic can be logic can prove or disprove anything. It can talk both the sides. Logic can talk that side also, this side also. So logic can be ambiguous, indecisive, because logic is logic. Logic is only a simple way, is an instrument. It can defend the other way, it can defend this way and the other way. Therefore, logic cannot be trusted. For this, Siddhanti replies no. Because sarvadhikanubhavam vinapi swabhyuha matrena yastarkaha tena atadrishasya virodasyankyo na bhavati ityeva chirantanairudiritattvat. He says, logic cannot be trusted because it is indecisive, it has no finality, or it can argue both the ways. It can defend also and it cannot defend also. So logic can work both the ways. It can be the other one because it can defend the same point and it can say it cannot. Therefore, so what our traditional Acharya told when they rejected reasoning. When they rejected reasoning, they did not mean to say that whole logic is useless. Any reasoning is wrong because it is indecisive or it is double-tongued. It can defend at the same time, it can counter-defend. The same logic can be the other side and this side. Supposing if one lawyer is talking in defense of it, and the same lawyer is changed to the other side, he start finding fault with it. People will wonder, what is this? The same person was defending the case before, now he is totally opposing it. Because he changed the side, he is coming this way. That means logic can be used that side, that way and this way, in defense of it and in opposite to it, in order to refute it, or therefore logic itself is untrustworthy. Purvapakshi told. Siddhanti says you can't say that, because our Shastrakaras, even this is a Brahma Sutra, when our Shastrakaras rejected logic, they did not mean all logic to be defected. Only thing is what is divested of universal experience and purely speculative, purely imaginative nature. What is a wild imagination but divested of or far removed from the Anubhava. A logic which is removed from Anubhava, not referred to Anubhava, only that kind of logic was rejected and criticized and rejected by our Acharyas. When our Acharyas criticized logic and rejected it as invalid, because they felt logic which is not based upon Anubhava, but only a dry logic. Shushka Tarka we call it. Only just a form of the logic, not relevant, not referring to Anubhava. Therefore, our traditional people, our ancestral Acharyas, when they refuted reasoning, they refuted only in this sense. Not that any logic is rejected, no. The logic which is unrelated to Anubhava, only such logic cannot be trusted, because it is only superficially arguing it without referring to truth. Nahi sarvasya tarkasya pratishthitatvam sadhayitum shakyam. So therefore, they told certain imaginative logic, the logic not based upon Anubhava, such logic was rejected by our Acharyas. They didn't mean all logic, any argument we reject it, because any reasoning is unacceptable, they did not say. A particular reasoning which is unrelated to Anubhava, only that kind of reasoning alone was rejected by our Acharya. Shushka Tarka was rejected. Nahi sarvasya. Supposing if you say all logic is rejected, all reasoning is rejected, and this looks to what you say, that this is a self-contradictory, unacceptable, because the logic cannot be accepted because it has got some defects. It has no finality. But even this is established by reasoning alone. Even to establish this, reasoning alone is required. Therefore, you can't say all reasonings are wrong, we can't accept any reasoning, because all reasonings are not wrong. If sarvasya tarkasya pratishtitatvam, if any reasoning has no finality, is untrustworthy, then in that case what happens? Tat sadhanepi tarkasya, even to establish that you require, see, tarka is apratishta, logic has no finality, you have to prove through logic alone. That means there are some logic which can be accepted, there are some reasoning which can be accepted, which can't be disputed, which can't be rejected. That proves that, then what is that kind of logic? What is that kind of reasoning? The reasoning which is based upon an anubhava cannot be improved further, cannot be corrected, cannot be changed, because the truth is universal, and it is also a reasoning based upon truth is perfectly acceptable. Etena naisha tarkena matirapaneya. Swamiji is giving a few quotations where reasoning is criticized, reasoning is rejected. For example, Kathopanishad, naisha tarkena matirapaneya. This truth, this jnanam cannot be gained through reasoning. That means he is undermining, it is discrediting. He is discrediting. Discrediting means rejecting. Naisha tarkena matirapaneya. He only means, this statement of Kathopanishad only means that a reasoning not based upon anubhava cannot arrive at the truth. Because it just A is equal to B, B is equal to C means you just don't know what is what. It's all wild imagination. So wild imagination cannot determine the truth. A reasoning, when the reasoning is criticized, it is only reasoning unrelated to anubhava. Okay, Natarka Shastra Dagdhaya, Mahabharata says that a person who is consumed by logic, that means he is so vehemently, stubbornly logical. A person who is adamantly logical, then radical logic we say, adamantly logical, so you just don't accept it. Tarka, so such a person, don't believe him, don't trust him, don't follow him. This is what Shastra taught. Tarka vidya manarakto nirartikam. A person who is addicted to reasoning, such fellows incapable of understanding the truth, leave him aside, set him aside. Haitukan bakavrittinscha vangmatrena pinarchayet. Manu also says, Haitukan. Haituka means those who only argue. Haitikan bakavrittinscha. Here I say quotations. One who is addicted to the useless science of logic. Such another thing is, a person should not entertain or respect the skeptics and hypocrites, even by mere words. Skeptics and hypocrites should not be honored, should not be respected in the debates, in the discussions, because they are, for everything they keep on suspicion. Suspicion means they talk negatively. Suspicion means everything they talk negatively. Too much negative about everything, suspicious. Skeptic means too suspicious. Too suspicious. That means are negative. Or let us say dismissive of anything. Anything you say, he dismisses. He is very dismissive. Such people should never be honored. Honored means in debates and discussions, they should not be called, and nobody should take them seriously and set them aside. Send them out, because it's useless to talk to them. Therefore, ityadi vachanan nidahritya tarka manadriyamanaha parhita bravanti. Therefore, those who take help of these statements and say that no, we don't accept reasoning at all, because our Shastras have criticized reasoning. Based upon these statements, they say our Shastras have rejected the reasoning, therefore we won't accept reasoning. To this, Swamiji replies, no. The right reply to it is, but even these amount to be refuted by the above reply, because wherever reasoning is condemned, sarvatrapi kevala tarkaha ityeva prayujyamanasya shushka tarkasyaiva nirakarana. Wherever the logic is, the reasoning is refuted or rejected, there you should understand it is a wild imagination, not that reasoning which is related to anubhava. Tarka samanya nirakarana pakshasyaiva kakshika. If you say that the way any logic, reasoning of any type is not acceptable, all the reasoning is equally rejected. If you feel all the reasoning is equally rejected, okay, tarka matrasyaiva. Tarka samanya matrasya andrenu, all reasoning. Any reasoning is rejected as invalid, unacceptable. Invalid or unacceptable. If you think that these quotations mean that reasoning of any type is just unacceptable, that means don't reason at all. Any reasoning is wrong alone. If you take that way, then even Vedanta cannot be begun, because Vedanta, Mimamsa Shastra requires reasoning alone. Then if that is to be accepted, then what happened? Even the Vedanta Mimamsa also cannot be studied. Veda Mimamsa, because the Mimamsa Shastra definitely requires logic alone. Even Pura Mimamsakas, those who reject reasoning and depend upon only Shastra, even they cannot do that. Those who advocate only Shruti Pramana, even they cannot reject them, because even to understand the Shruti Vakyas, you need Pura Mimamsa, any Mimamsa, analysis. Therefore, any tarka you can't reject. Tarka in general you can't reject. Tarkatmakasya nasyat Vedanta Mimamsa Shastrasyaiva Tarkatmakasya nasyadarambaniyatvam tasmanna tarkas sarvata pratisiddha. Therefore, all logic in general, any logic in general can't be rejected like that. A specific logic which is unrelated to anubhava, not based upon an anubhava, but only based upon wild imagination. Just wild imagination. If you say that, then that cannot be accepted. Okay, next coming to the anubhava. Vishishya, regarding anubhava, let us say something good. Anubhavascha vishishya sarvenapi avashyam angikaryaha. When it comes to anubhava, there is no dispute. Everybody must accept. Because anubhava is a common factor. That is a deciding factor. Because once you touch the anubhava, no dispute is possible. No disagreement, no dispute, no further rejection, nothing is possible. Everybody has to remain silent. Silently accept it. Everybody has to accept it if it is just an anubhava. Tasmanna tarkaha anubhavascha vishishya sarvenapi vasya angikaryaha anyata vastu tattva nirnayana avasya. Nirnaya anavakashat. If you don't accept anubhava, then there also you have to blindly believe. Then you don't know what is what. Nothing can be decided. Everybody has to be blindly accepted. Whatever is said blindly might be, because it is not in our anubhava. Anything is a deciding factor. What you say? The rubbing, what you say? The testing stone. The testing stone is anubhava. If you reject the testing stone, the very testing stone, the final testing stone, the final determinant, is Anubhava. Okay? The finalizing factor, finally determining factor is Anubhava. If the Anubhava too is not accepted, Anubhava means everybody's Anubhava, then nothing can be done. Whatever says, you have to accept it, that's all. If you don't verify even our Anubhava, if you don't match with Anubhava, then whatever is said, just accept it. Then that way no truth can be decided. Because you don't know what is what. Everything is blank, everything is blind. If Anubhava is not brought in as a deciding factor, everything is blind. You don't know what is what. Whatever one says, if you can't verify, you need not verify, then anybody says, anybody can accept it as a truth. You claim, that's a claim alone would be enough, and nothing needs to be verified. Only claim alone would be. Claim anything, that becomes a truth. Then you mean only claim alone is truth? Because Anubhava is such thing. Nacha vipratipadyante vadino anubhavatmani. Swamiji quotes from Sureshwaracharya's Vartika, Brihadaranyaka. Nacha vipratipadyante, the debaters, the disputants do not dispute if you bring the Anubhava. If you appeal to Anubhava, it is a matter of everybody's experience. Everybody has to fall silent. Everybody has to agree, no dispute further is possible. Vadinaha never dispute, because that is a finally determining factor is Anubhava. Anubhava decides for good, because no dispute is possible. Therefore, Vadino Anubhavatmani na vipratipadyante. Suppose tatra chetsyad visamvadaha, if there is a difference of opinion, disagreement regarding the very Anubhava, then kena anyena chikitsyate. What else is the deciding factor? What else factor do we adopt, do we depend upon to decide something as a true or not? What somebody said is true or not, Anubhava alone is a final determinant. Anubhava means intuition. If Anubhava also cannot determine, then where are we to go? Nothing can be done. Then we have no determining factor at all. Isn't it? Where discord and disagreement even over it. What else is there which could be remedy? There is no remedy. What else is there which could remedy it? That means there is no remedy for it. There is no solution for it. The final solution is only Anubhava. That is a determining factor. Another quotation Swamiji gives here, Anubhava matra sharanatvat sarvatarkika prasthananam, from Naishkarma Siddhi. All the schools that use reasoning, and argument have only the recourse to or appeal to the intuition alone, even through their arguments. Because even through their reasoning, the strength of the reasoning is if it culminates in an Anubhava. If the reasoning is pointing out an Anubhava, then only the reason becomes finally settled reason. So the reasoning is Anubhava matra sharanatvat sarva tarkikanam. All the tarkikas, all the debaters, those who use logic, have also to depend upon Anubhava. Without Anubhava, no logic is possible. Because see, in the argument, what do they say? They make a statement, they make a claim. How do they prove the claim? By showing a reason. What is a reason? Reason is only an experience in life. Therefore, he says, you see, Parvato Vanniman, there is a fire on the mountain because I see the smoke. At least he is seeing the smoke. The perception of the smoke is an Anubhava. So that Anubhava is determining. So even the Sarvatarkika Prasthana, all the argumentative, all the debating Prasthanas have to depend ultimately on Anubhava alone, even because even logic has to depend on Anubhava. Anubhava alone decides logic as final. Okay. अतएव अनुभवानुसारि विषयत्वमेव हि तत्त्वशब्दाभिधेयम् अतएव प्रमाणान्यप्यनुभवसंवादीन्येव यथार्थज्ञानकरणत्वेन उपादीयन्ते Pratipatruhi parikshakaischa. Some more point is there. I think we will discuss later in the next class. Today we have covered a big portion. I think more than one page. 1 and the 4th. 1 and the 4th page we have covered a long page today. I think the next point tomorrow we can proceed with the 13th passage. Next passage we can proceed. Because these are points we have already discussed in a way. Only a touching little bit, a few extra points. So essential points we have discussed. And one more interesting point is there which we are going to, Swamiji is going to touch upon. Okay, later in the next class. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Tat Sat.